Hello and welcome. You're watching the newsroom. Breaking news this hour. Russian President Vladimir Putin has announced the successful final test of the Burevestnik, a nuclear-powered cruise missile, during a meeting with military officials. Putin has said that the decisive tests are completed and ordered preparations to deploy the weapons into Russia's armed forces. The missile, known to NATO as the SSC-X9 Skyfall, is ground-launched, low-flying and capable of carrying a nuclear warhead. Russia's military chief, Valery Gerasimov, confirmed the missile flew for about 15 hours, covering about 14,000 kilometers in its October 21st test. And Putin hailed it as unique, claiming unlimited range and the ability to evade missile defenses. First unveiled in 2018, the Burevestnik uses nuclear propulsion and allowing intercontinental distances while maintaining low altitude to avoid radar detection. Let's listen in to Vladimir Putin, Russian President, and Valery Gerasimov, the Russian Chief of General Staff, on their explanation of this missile.
14 тысяч, и в воздухе находилось?
Ну, около 15 часов.
И это не предел.
Не предел.
Да. Нам нужно будет, Валерий Алексеевич, определиться, на что это такое, к какому классу оружия эта новая система относится. Надо определить возможные способы применения и начать готовить инфраструктуру для размещения этого оружия в наших вооруженных силах.
И да, технические характеристики Буревестник вообще позволяют применять ее с гарантированной точностью по высокозащищенным объектам на любом расстоянии. Кроме того, в ходе полета ракеты были выполнены все заданные вертикальные и горизонтальные маневры, и тем самым продемонстрированы ее высокие возможности по обходу средств противоракетной и противовоздушной обороны.
Now, according to the city's mayor, Sergei Sobyanin, Russian air defenses systems shot down 2 drones targeting Moscow on Sunday, the 26th of October. The first drone was destroyed earlier in the day and the second was down later. Sobyanin said specialist teams are examining the fragments where the drones fell. No damage or casualties have been reported as of now. Russia's top economic negotiator, Kirill Dmitriev, has sharply criticized efforts to block dialogue with the United States. In a video, Dmitriev called these actions titanic attempts to disrupt communication between the two countries. His comments come after Washington imposed sanctions on Moscow's oil companies. Dmitriev, who has arrived in the United States on Friday, reaffirmed Russia's commitment to a constructive dialogue, stressing the importance of clearly presenting Russia's position on key issues as these. Let's in fact listen in to what he had to say.
Третий день ведем переговоры с представителями администрации США, находясь в Соединенных Штатах Америки. Очень четко доносим позицию президента Путина, что только конструктивный, уважительный диалог принесет плоды. Любые попытки давления на Россию просто бессмысленны. Мы видим титанические попытки сорвать любой диалог России и США, внести очень много дезинформации.
Now shifting our focus to the African continent, Sudan's paramilitary rapid support forces claimed full control of Al-Fashir, the last major city in western Darfur still held by the army. In a statement, the RSF said it had extended control over the city, removing what they call mercenaries and militias, referring to the Sudanese army. This marks a significant escalation in the ongoing conflict in Sudan, which began in April 2023. The army has not yet responded to the claim, and AFP has not been able to identify the situation and verify it. Now shifting our focus to the Middle East, Israeli government spokesperson Sosh Bedrosian said Gaza will be demilitarized and Hamas will not play any role in governance of the Palestinian people, adding that this will happen the easy way or the hard way. The statement follows remarks from the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, who said that Israel alone won't decide which countries can join a planned international security force in Gaza. Now, under a US brokered ceasefire, a coalition of mostly Arab and Muslim countries is expected to send troops to the heavily damaged Palestinian territory. Let's listen in to what Sosh Bedrosian, the Israeli government spokesperson, has said on demilitarization.
Israel is aware that Hamas knows where our deceased hostages are in fact located. If Hamas made more of an effort, they would be able to retrieve the remains of our hostages. The Prime Minister has said, Joel, it's going to be done the easy way or the hard way, and Israel will have overall security control of the Gaza Strip. I'll point you back to the 20-point plan, which we continue to reiterate, which Israel remains extremely committed to as we have upheld our side of the agreement. Gaza will be demilitarized and Hamas will have no part in governing the Palestinians.
Now, staying in the region, the Israeli government has announced that Red Cross and Egyptian teams have been permitted to search for the bodies of deceased hostages beyond the yellow line, demarcating the Israeli military's pullback in the Gaza Strip. Israeli government spokesperson Sosh Bedrosian added that Israel will maintain overall security control in Gaza and said that Israel maintains extremely committed and remains extremely committed to upholding its side of the agreement, ensuring that Gaza will be demilitarized. Let's listen in to what the Israeli government spokesperson had to say. Now moving on, many olive presses in Gaza have been damaged or destroyed during the Hamas-Israel conflict. Despite this, some presses continue to operate, though loss of olive trees have been severe. Nasser Avda, who owns an olive press in Al Zawaida, says up to 90% of the trees have been destroyed. He calls it a particular painful loss, explaining that olive tree represents their existence and their roots in this land. The destruction affects not just but also cultural connection Palestinians have with their land. Let's listen in to Nasser Avda and Ahmed Suleiman, who is a farmer, about their experience.
أصبحت يعني غزة بلا زيتون وبلا معاصر زيتون، لدرجة إنه إحنا قبل الحرب الطاحنة كنا أصبحنا يعني مصدرين لمادة الزيت، صدرنا على السعودية وصدرنا على دول الخليج، وكنا مجهزين نصدر على أوروبا في عام الحرب، لكن للأسف الشديد أصبنا بما أصبنا به. يعني الهجمة كانت شرسة لأنه شجرة الزيتون تشكل وجودنا وتجذرنا في هذه الأرض. يعني في العالم أينما ذكرت شجرة الزيتون يذكر شعبنا الفلسطيني، وأينما ذكر شعبنا الفلسطيني تذكر شجرة الزيتون.
بالنسبة للمحاصيل الزيتون السنة هذه فيش ناتج خالص، لأنه كله مجرف، كل صلاح الدين وشرقة كله معدوم، كله مجرف. نادم يشغل طرمبة ويشغل الشيء المكلف اليوم جدا، والمحاصيل كلها يعني كل الزيتون اللي غرب صلاح الدين يعني يمكن 5% أو 7%، بالكثير 7%.
Now, staying in the region, in Gaza City, members of the Christian community have gathered at the historic St. Porphyrius church to mark 2 years since the deadly strike hit the site during the 2023 conflict. Dozens attended a memorial mass in remembrance of those killed, including families who had taken refuge in the church compound when that strike occurred. At the time, the Hamas-run Interior Ministry had said that an Israeli strike caused multiple casualties, while the Israeli military had said that it was targeting a nearby command center instead. Now, St. Porphyrius, which is Gaza's oldest active church, now stands as both a place of worship and a symbol of deep scars left by the war. Let's listen in to one of the residents.
عامين من الحرب ما زالت الآلام موجودة، ما زالت الجراح متواجدة. لم ننسى أحبابنا، لم ننسى أصدقائنا. شخصيا أنا فقدت يوم 19/10 أبنائي في عام 2023 في بداية الحرب. كانت المأساة شديدة علي، قوية لحد الآن. جراح هذا تبعوني، عندنا إحنا 12 من عائلتي، من عائلة السوري 12 شخص قضوا في هذه الحرب، من ضمنهم 3 أبناء لإلي، سهيل ومجد وجولي، وهم أطفال، يعني أكبرهم 14 عام وأصغرهم 11. عاملين لهم جناز الذكرى الثانية على فقدانهم واستشهادهم وصعودهم إلى الملكوت العليا، شهداء قديسين من كنيسة القديس بورفيريوس في غزة. هذه الآلام مش لحالي أنا أخذتها، أغلبية الشعب في قطاع غزة.
Now shifting on to Turkey, hundreds of people have gathered outside Istanbul's Kaglayan courthouse, where jailed opposition mayor Ekrem İmamoğlu is testifying in a spying case. The protesters voiced support for İmamoğlu, calling the investigation politically motivated. Police maintained tight security as opposition members and the civil group joined the rally. CHP leader Özgür Özel addressed the crowd, accusing the government of trying to silence one of the President Erdogan's strongest rivals ahead of the upcoming elections. Now, demonstrators waved flags and chanted in solidarity, saying that İmamoğlu represented democratic resistance. Let's listen in to what the CHP leader, a CHP member and a protester had to say.
Hırsız dediler olmadı, yolsuz dediler olmadı, teröre destek dediler olmadı, şimdi son çare casus demeye kalktılar, yazıklar olsun. Bakın bu meydana, bu meydan korkmayanların, yılmayanların, evde tek başına oturmayanların, korkuyu evde bırakanların meydanıdır. Korkuyu evde bırakanların.
Bu sadece bir soruşturma gibi değil. Bütün dosyalarından hiçbir şey bulamadıkları için bahane ederek bu casusluk soruşturmasına dönüştürdüler. Bundan bir şey çıkmayacağını biliyoruz. Bu soruşturmalar bizi yıldırsa buralarda olmayız. Zaten bu baskıyı yapmak için yapıyorlar. Yıldırmak için, yormak için, itibarsızlaştırdıkları zaman halk gelmeyecek sandılar, kucaklamayacak sandılar. Cumhuriyet Halk Partili değil, burada çok bir partili arkadaşlarım.
Ülkenin evladıdır ve ülkesine asla ihanet etmez. Biz de buna inandığımız için bugün onun yanındayız, onun arkasındayız. İftiralarla Ekrem Başkan'ı kimseye yıkamaz. Ekrem Başkan bu ülkenin Cumhurbaşkanı.
Now shifting our focus to Southeast Asia, where in Cambodia, people are celebrating a ceasefire with neighboring country Thailand, a deal co-signed by US President Donald Trump and Malaysian Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. The truce follows 5 days of heavy fighting alongside the border that left at least 40 people dead and displaced more than 300,000. The agreement endorsed by the Prime Ministers includes calls for peace and cooperation. In Phnom Penh, crowds gathered at the National Olympic Stadium, waving Cambodian flags and welcoming the return of calm. Many expressed hope that the border communities can rebuild and that soldiers held in Thailand will soon return home. Let's listen in to what some of the residents had to say.
សំខាន់លោកពូដោយសារតែប្រទេសយើង ពួកយើងទាំងអស់គ្នាគឺត្រូវការសន្តិភាពហើយក៏អរគុណដល់សម្ដេចធិបតីនិងលោកជំទាវដែលបានអញ្ជើញទៅចុះហត្ថលេខាថ្ងៃនេះនាំយកសន្តិភាពមកជូនកម្ពុជាយើងវិញចា៎រយៈពេល3ខែចុងក្រោយមកនេះគឺយើងមានបញ្ហាជាមួយនឹងប្រទេសថៃតែឥឡូវនេះរយៈពេល3ខែក្រោយមកគឺយើងបានទទួលនៅកិច្ចព្រមព្រៀងរវាងកម្ពុជានិងប្រទេសថៃដែលយើងមានលោកប្រធានាធិបតីដូណាល់ត្រាំដែលជាស័ក្តិសិទ្ធិរស់ចាហើយនឹងប្រទេសម៉ាឡេស៊ីជាម្ចាស់ផ្ទះនឹងការទទួលនឹងការចុះហត្ថលេខានេះចាហើយក៏ជាមោទនភាពមួយដែរដែលប្រជាជនកម្ពុជារងចាំចារងចាំនៅថ្ងៃនេះហើយនឹងរងចាំនៅវរៈកងទ័ពយើង18នាក់ទៀតក្រៅពីការកិច្ចចុះកិច្ចព្រមព្រៀងនេះផងដែរយើងធ្លាប់មានសន្តិភាពមួយគ្នាពីមុនមកហើយយើងចង់បានអានឹងត្រឡប់មកវិញដើម្បីឲ្យសេដ្ឋកិច្ចរបស់យើងទាំងពីរគឺយើងដើររលូនទៅមុខទៀតទាំងពីរកុំឲ្យមានចាជាពិសេសគឺប្រជាពលរដ្ឋកម្ពុជាយើងចាមិនត្រូវការសង្គ្រាមនេះគឺត្រូវការសន្តិភាពសប្បាយចិត្តត្រង់ថាពេលដែលមានសន្តិភាពពេញលេញពួកខ្ញុំអាចចូលធ្វើការសិក្សារៀនសូត្រក្មេងៗនៅតាមតំបន់ព្រំដែនក៏ដូចជានៅតាមបណ្ដាខេត្តទាំងអស់ពួកគាត់បានចូលរៀនដូចធម្មតាហើយបើសិនជាអ៊ំពូមីងដែលពួកគាត់នៅតាមតំបន់ព្រំដែនហ្នឹងគឺគាត់មានលទ្ធភាពនៅក្នុងការប្រកបរបររកស៊ីដូចធម្មតាចា៎
Now, thousands of people from Thailand have gathered in Bangkok to pay their respects as the body of the late Queen Sikrit was carried in a procession to the Grand Palace. Crowds of mourners lined up to the streets to witness the somber journey. The Queen will lie in a state for a year-long funeral before her cremation takes place. Let's listen in to some of the mourners.
รู้สึกปลาบปลื้มมากค่ะรู้สึกแบบว่าชื่นใจอะค่ะที่เห็นประชาชนเขียนเอาเทียนและพวกเป็นขั้นมาแสดงความไว้อะไรท่านคนลุกใช่ค่ะรู้สึกใจหายอะค่ะใจหายดูข่าวประจำ2 ทุ่มมาก่อนก็คือหลักๆก็คือความเสียใจความทำหน้าที่เราไม่ได้เห็นพระองค์ท่านในพระอิริยาบถที่ทรงพระชนชีพแล้วนะครับผมก็แต่ว่าก็เป็นความรู้สึกหนึ่งที่อย่างน้อยเราก็ได้มีโอกาสใกล้กับพระองค์ท่านนะครับผม
We're pretty saddened about Queen Sirikit passing away, but it's very beautiful to see how people are gathering around the temples and this area of the Grand Palace just to pay respects to Her Majesty in this day. I know she has been a really important person for Thailand and she brought the Thai seal to the world. I mean
ครับมาตั้งแต่เช้าแล้วครับประมาณ 10 โมงเพื่อมาจองจับที่เพื่อจะได้เห็นนะครับที่ใกล้ชิดนะครับเป็นครั้งสุดท้ายเพื่อจะได้น้อมระลึกถึงรวมถึงจิตใจคนไทยทุกคนที่เราร่วมกันมาในวันนี้ครับ
Now moving on, Kosovo's parliament has failed to elect Albin Kurti as Prime Minister, increasing the likelihood that a snap election will be called to break a political deadlock following an inconclusive parliamentary vote in February. Kurti, who is the leader of the ruling party and is currently serving as a Prime Minister in a caretaker capacity, received only 56 votes in the 120-seat parliament. Now, opposition parties have refused to govern with Kurti, criticizing his handling of Kosovo's relations with its Western allies and his actions in Kosovo's ethnically divided north. Kurti, who is a leftist and Albanian nationalist, came to power in 2021 with a coalition run by Vetervelendose, received more than 50% of the votes and secured a 7-seat majority in the parliament. Now moving on, French winger Xavier Bertrand has announced his intentions to run for the next presidency, marking his entry into the 2027 election race. A former regional president and a seasoned politician, Bertrand is positioning himself as a strong contender on France's conservative right. His platform focuses on strengthening national security, implementing economic reforms, and promoting national identity, aimed at appealing to centre-right and right-wing voters. Bertrand and some less loyal Republicans and supporters have reacted to the situation. Let's listen into what they had to say.
Et moi, enrichi de mes échecs passés, enrichi aussi de l'expérience que j'ai, à la fois en tant que ministre par le passé, mais aussi à la tête de cette région, j'entends bien me préparer, bien mieux que la fois dernière, et surtout, encore une fois, à être celui qui va donner le sentiment aux Français qu'il y a un espoir, qu'on n'est pas condamné à avoir 17 mois d'immobilisme, qu'on n'est pas condamné à avoir ce duel mortifère Bardella-Mélenchon dans 17 mois, mais qu'il y a la possibilité de renouer avec l'espoir.
J'étais content quand il a dit qu'il n'est pas pour la dissolution ni pour la démission du président parce que ça affaiblit la France, ça affaiblit la République. Mais par contre, il a l'idée de faire un référendum pour le sujet comme le budget est une excellente idée. Je pense que c'est ce qu'il faut faire.
Malgré le bazar ambiant, je crois que la politique peut encore changer la vie des gens. En tout cas, c'est le rôle des élus. Et j'ai toujours été une citoyenne engagée. Et j'ai envie de soutenir ceux qui continuent à s'engager et surtout qui continuent à être un rempart contre les extrêmes.
Now, tens and thousands have marched in Spain's eastern city of Valencia on Saturday to commemorate the first anniversary of floods that claimed 229 lives and to protest the authorities' response to this tragedy. Demonstrators were holding photos of the victims and urged regional leaders Carlos Mazin to resign and accusing him of a slow and ineffective response to one of Europe's deadliest natural disasters in decades. Mazin's administration has faced strong criticism for failing to send text alerts until after the flood had already begun in several areas on October 29, 2024. Some people and a journalist have reacted to the situation. Let's listen in.
Y tenemos que seguir luchando. Aunque en la práctica mañana va a seguir igual, en la práctica las manifestaciones llevamos un año y demuestran no servir para nada en la práctica, pero seguiremos y dando las gracias a todo el pueblo que sigue con nosotros y esperando que algún día se haga justicia.
En un año no hemos avanzado absolutamente nada, estamos igual o creo que peor. Y nosotros no somos afectados directamente, no vivimos en la zona cero, pero hemos vivido en la ribera y hemos pasado por esto y esto no se puede dejar así, porque además estamos en un momento del año que puede volver a pasar.
De primeres, la gent que ho està gestionant no tindria ni que estar gestionant-ho, perquè al final han fet una gestió negligent, una gestió criminal i són uns assassins i el que tindrien que estar és en la càrcel.
Now moving on to some news from the world of sports, a new tournament, the FIFA Asian Cup, will be launched as a part of an agreement between FIFA and the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, aimed at boosting the development of football across the region. The announcement was made during the 47th ASEAN Summit in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, where the FIFA President Gianni Infantino and ASEAN Secretary General Kao Kim Horn signed a renewed memorandum of understanding. The tournament will bring together national teams from all ASEAN members in a format inspired by the Arab Cup, which was first organized by FIFA in 2021. World's football governing body will work with regional stakeholders, including the Asian Football Confederation, the ASEAN Football Federation, and the relevant FIFA member association to finalize the tournament's format. With that, it's a wrap on the newsroom. Keep watching NewsX World for more breaking news updates.